Hello, Margaret Kuhlman here of Soul Astrology. So we're looking at a new moon towards the end of Cancer. Cancer's growth, the sign of mother and child, even while wrapped in the womb. The time of greatest growth, we can say. In this chart, the growth has got several aspects. Firstly, there's the sextile, the green line to Uranus, which tells us that the growth is around freedom. At least it requires freedom of action to actually grow, which means giving other people freedom from ourselves, not just claiming it from the outside world. We have to give freedom in order to have it. There's the square relationship, the red line from Sun and Moon to Chiron in Aries, showing that, we're a little bit afraid to go it alone. A bit afraid, but not forgetting Aries has the courage to do it anyway, and perhaps acts suddenly in order to catch the moment, like waiting for the wave with your surfboard, and then just going for it. Frightening, but there's a frisson in the challenge for those who dare to go ahead. For others, it could feel very painful if one remembers times one has gone alone before and it didn't work, or if the results were not what was hoped. So best thing is not to have too much an eye on the hopes and expectations and intentions. Just having put one's heart into something, just go for it anyway and see. And most beautifully, that leads us to the next aspect, the blue line from Sun and Moon to Neptune. Neptune at 27 degrees Pisces. And this is the energy that we really need when going for something. It's trust. And the trust is in the spirit. It is a wobbly thing to trust in spirit when dealing with practical issues, because when you hit the world it hurts. So often fear would have us clinging on to what we have on a practical, physical level, rather than going with the inner spiritual drive. Sad. So finding ways of connecting with that inner spiritual drive would be very important this month, and blessed by the chart, if one can say that about astrology. And the last aspect that the Sun and Moon is making there, and it will be the last one because it's at 29 degrees, the Pluto opposite. We often have a feeling that the outside world has got power over us when Pluto is opposite to the Sun or Moon or anything else in the chart. The opposition seems to separate us, so we're looking at it across life. Oh, there it is. It has more power than I do. We have to bear in mind that when expanded, we have that power. That power that we're looking at is actually ours. But in order to operate it, we have to let go of the personality, desires and hopes and all of that fearful survival stuff that we tend to live on most of the time. Beautifully, Neptune and Pluto, of course, are working together. Their green line between them, the sextile. The spirit is actually asking us to take the power, to dare. The bit that leaps to my mind is that we turn to spirit to save us when our world is shaking, only to discover that it was spirit shaking it. So there is spirit shaking our world, and both planets, Neptune and Pluto, have got quincunxes, those brown lines, towards Venus. Venus about to retrograde on the 22nd of July. And she'll be retrograde right through August and the beginning of September, all in Leo. This is looking back. This is inspecting relationships that have been, and more importantly, how we were in those relationships, what we did, what our results were. It's learning from the past, learning about real love, spiritual love, as opposed to personality love, which tends to be a bit more clingy. Venus rules the throat, and I notice my throat is becoming a bit rough, even while I speak of it. So Venus perhaps is the focus for this month. Venus in Leo, relationships and love. Anything actually that attracts. It isn't only love that attracts. It can be hate. It can be anger. It's any passionate emotion that draws us towards what we're thinking about. Now with Mercury also in Leo, you can see, and squaring Jupiter, we're likely to do quite a lot of whatever it is. This concern with our own self, our happiness and our radiance of that. Leo, when it's overexpressed, can be called the drama queen, never mind what gender. And Jupiter expanding on it suggests that it would be very easy to fall into that. Just getting uptight about whatever it is that's upset the ego. So it's definitely a strong call to notice when your ego is running your brain and to lift your thoughts a bit beyond that. Even just noticing you're doing it, actually, that is the biggest step. So notice when you're being egoic. Now this could be when you want something from someone. Now that can be, I want to be loved. That's the most obvious one with Venus in Leo. But it can also be, I need them to support me. I can't manage without. It's any kind of clinging. They need to do it the way I do it. It's feeling that if you're not in charge or in control of what other people are doing, it's dangerous. Lots of things all run through with veins of fear. But the point is, they're all about holding on to other people and what they're doing. When actually, it's all made of love. It's the energy of attraction that holds everything we know together. So there can be no loss. And we only find this out by going inside, relaxing with ourselves, and fully appreciating this wonderful personality, this set of attributes, which we managed to bring in this time. We can do this, do that. We have trouble with the other, bless us. It's a wonderful mix, and it's different. They're always different. Every personality is different. However many lifetimes we live, the personality we are using will be different. It's more a matter of finding out how the personality operates, what it's doing, and when it trips over its own feet. Neptune and Pluto pointing at Venus is that finger of fate, or finger of God, however you want to call it. The finger pointing at that energy that needs to be updated, recognized, reorganized, done differently. So it's a very clear indication in this chart for this month that it's our own sense of loving that needs to be upgraded. And Neptune is offering us the spiritual view through the sun and moon. The whole focus of the month is about trust the spirit, love your spirit, be your spirit and love your personality. It doesn't mean do what your personality wants necessarily, but that if you do, it really isn't a spiritual problem. It tends to be only a problem on the earthly level. It's having infinite patience with your own growth process, the up and down of it. Now also in the chart, and sort of separate but kind of involved, is Saturn in Pisces opposite Mars in Virgo. Mars is our driving force in the body, and in Virgo it really wants to get things right. It wants to get things right inward and outward, improving life in the world, doing things that are helpful rather than not. Saturn opposite is actually the wisdom of spiritual input. But the Mars that's us in our solar plexus may not feel that that input is totally loving. It may feel thoroughly criticised. It may fear that it's gone wrong, which is the worst thing in Virgo, the worst thing to feel. So, my God, I've made a mistake. I went all gung-ho and did that thing. But actually, if we are already doing that, trust the spirit, follow the way things go, unfold for the best for everyone, there won't be any problem at all. We will simply be within ourselves, taking each step as it presents, which is really the only way to live, and we will get where our spirit is aiming to go, which cannot be bad. Almost immediately at the new moon, the nodes of the moon shift into going for Aries, coming from Libra, which is really what we've been talking about here. The full moon chart shows distinctly that the nodes have shifted. The pattern of the Neptune sextile Pluto has been joined with another sextile to Uranus. So it's very, very much about learning about freedom, letting go of what isn't appropriate, all that stuff. And Venus, who squared Uranus at the beginning of July, has actually turned and is retrograding into another square with Uranus, so all is not finished. There is a separating going on, and the second square becomes exact in the second week of August. So from then until the third square, which is the very end of September, we will be working on how to be free and yet loving. All manner of things can be worked out if we will remain in contact. Sometimes it is appropriate to make space, but if fear is the factor that's making you want to stay separate, then it's not a good separating. The North Node being in Aries is an encouragement to keep coming forward. As a month which started with the new moon in Cancer, this is about greater growth, speed, fast growth. A lot can be accomplished. A lot can fall away that needed to, and all manner of things may rise as possibilities. My feeling is that it's not about actual separation. It's about letting go of the clinging. Whenever it rises, let go again. And it takes time to build in a new habit, a new understanding, a new attitude. So have patience with yourself and your process. Beautifully, Mars in Virgo, who was trining the North Node, as it were, in Taurus, has moved forward and is precisely trining Jupiter. Whereas we had that bit about a bit too much words and a bit too much shining in the first half of the month, the second half is very much about doing what works, being in service, so that whatever newness has been allowed to unfold itself, we're able to serve that function, the change having been made. Maybe, if it wasn't possible to make the change then, the work that happens, this lovely growing openness, a desire to help and to heal situations, would continue anyway until the end of September, when Venus makes her last square to Uranus, and whatever needed to be let go can be let go. Venus moves into Virgo in October, So September is the time for completion of the letting go. And we'll get there, but not yet. In the meantime, it's that connection to spirit, held constantly throughout this month by the quincunx to Venus. Love the spirit. Love your spirit. Be spirit, having relationships in this earthly setting, bearing in mind that we are all in relationship all the time, actually. Thank you. Have patience with yourself. You are growing through turbulent times. Rain and hail and strong winds, heat and drought and bare fields, but your fears for the future do not show you the green possibilities that are budding at the surface. All is not lost, just changing. Live day by day, and the plants will grow, and the destruction will be cleared. Stand firm in your loving, and allow the universe to love it all through you.